Welcome to Comic Shop News. I'm Dan, and today we're going to discuss the 2009 release called The Collector. The movie was directed by Marcus Dunston and screenplay by Dunston and Patrick Melton. This movie was one of those ones that I think got overlooked because it was post-Saw, and if you looked at the trailer, it kind of looked like a bad Saw ripoff. I kind of had that same reaction when I first saw the trailers, but I wanted to be entertained, and at the time horror movies weren't coming out that often. So I went to this movie, and then you find out that it has this super interesting killer, and the protagonist, Arkin, played by Josh Stewart, is a really complicated protagonist this is one of those movies when people ask me to recommend a movie, I usually recommend this. It's painful that it got overlooked. Anyway, the movie starts, this couple comes home, and they're going to get ready to fool around, I think. It's hard to describe. He's like, I'll be upstairs in a bit. He's looking at the bills, tries to turn the light on, then looks up, the can lights are gone. And then his wife calls, he goes up to the room, and there's a chest sitting in the middle of the floor. And they're both freaked out. And then someone jumps out, and then it cuts to the actual credits. After the credits, we are introduced to Arkin. He's working at this family's house. And have this weird focus in on this exterminator coming to the work site. Kind of odd to focus in on it, but you know, they're showing all the different work things. Arkin, he talks to the owner of the house. They further make him a complicated character because there's a younger daughter in the house. Her name's Hannah, and she invites him to a mermaid tea party. So he sits down with her, and he has a daughter her age. So we kind of get more into his character, and he's further working on the house, and he afterward goes to visit his daughter and brings a bear that the daughter, Hannah, from the house he was working on, said that she would love. And then we meet his girlfriend or wife, not really sure. We find out that she's in deep with loan sharks and ready to run. So he's taking on a job, which is robbing that family that he was working at the house to pay off her debt and get even. So again, bad guy, you understand his reasons. So he goes back to the house, and as he's breaking into the safe, he hears the door open, and we are introduced to the collector. And the game of cat and mouse starts in the house. And this is where I think they didn't sell enough of this in the trailer, because Arkin and the collector kind of playing this game back and forth in this giant house is completely amazing. Like, there'll be a noise, the collector will run upstairs, Arkin's hiding in a room next to it, and he's leaving the room. Then the collector is coming in. The collector has this mask. It's almost like a GIMP mask, except it shows the mouth, the eyes, but the eyes you'll see kind of like red dots. Sometimes like almost like he's got night vision on. And it's weird because this character, so as Arkin's going through the house, he finds the owner of the house, and when he finds him, the owner of the house thinks that he did this, and he goes to pick up something, and it sets off this Rube Goldberg contraption trap, and I guess this is where the Saw comparisons come in. And look, some of these things are ridiculous, how long it would have taken him to set all this crap up. But so the collector has all these traps set up almost in every room, different locations. And some of them are brutal, some kind of in between. But the movie moved pretty fast. Arkin still going around the house, keeps finding different members. The wife, she's downstairs in a bathtub, tied up. She's got a blindfold, and she asks Arkin to save her daughter, her youngest daughter, and get her out, that she's hiding. Arkin agrees, and this is where we start getting to the personality of the collector. So Arkin asks her to start screaming to distract him so that he can get upstairs. And she screams, and the collector, he gets pissed off. He gets real angry. Just any kind of noise, he gets pissed off. There's a scene where somebody that he had hidden in one of the trunks, he put the trunk in one of the rooms, because that's, I guess, his move. But the guy in the trunk is yelling and stuff, so he goes over and starts kicking the box. Just little things like that. And he punishes the wife for screaming. He sews her mouth shut at one point. Just real brutal stuff. The oldest daughter, played by Madeline Zima, I believe she's mostly known for Californication with David Duchovny. She comes home with her boyfriend. She's kind of a bit of a rebel, and they come in the house, and they're basically getting ready to go at it. Arkin is kind of walking down the stairs and sees the collector in the other side of the kitchen hiding behind a chair, and the girl and her boyfriend aren't really seeing it, and the collector is sitting there like watching them go at it, and he's kind of licking his lips, getting excited. And the girl eventually leans back far enough and sees him, and they have the boyfriend try to go after him, and he goes to punch him, and he gets a knife right in the hand. Some brutal deaths ensue. The daughter in particular has a brutal scene. The cat and mouse game continues, and at one point Arkin gets out, and then he looks up in the window and he sees the little girl Hannah up there, and he breaks back into the house. And that's when the collector starts realizing he's there. There is also a brutal scene in one of the rooms, I believe it's the little girl's room, where there's this sticky substance on the floor that also is like an acid eating away, and the family cat gets stuck in it, and yeah, it's just a bad scene, and I'm an animal lover, so that was kind of tough to take. The cat and mouse game continues in the house, and Arkin, at one point, he confronts the collector, and they start wrestling, and the collector knocks his ass out, and then you find him later, he's waking up, and he's hanging from his hands on these hooks, and the collector's going to get the little girl, and then Arkin starts insulting him, and again, the collector kind of has a temper and possibly a little bit of an ego, and he's being called, I really don't want to repeat the words, but anyway, the cops show up, or a cop, and the collector, in all his wisdom, brought an attack dog that he had chained out, and he leads the cop right to where the dog is, and the dog rips the cop's throat out. So Arkin gets free, and more of trying to escape, and he ends up using one of the collector's traps against him after tricking him with a window. And at this point, the collector's pissed off enough, he gets a Mossberg shotgun and comes in with it. The end part happens. I really don't want to spoil it, because I think this is a movie that you need to watch and not be spoiled at. And as it goes on, there is a twist after you think the movie is over. Again, I don't want to spoil any of it, but Arkin, I think, is one of the newer protagonists, and he's the unreliable protagonist, but they kind of reveal he sort of has a heart of gold. This is a movie I've grown to love. about a month ago, I was at dinner with a friend, and I was talking to her boyfriend about the movie, and she had never seen it. And then I told her she had to watch it, and she had written it off as a Saw, just knockoff. And again, the trailer never really showed what the movie is, except that it was kind of a horror movie and it had traps. I don't know if it would have affected things more if they'd shown more of the collector and the shenanigans he's up to. I will be reviewing the sequel, The Collection, that wraps up the series, and I think it worked that this is a 2-movie series and that's it. I thought this was a great job by Dunston and Melton. Also, if you're curious, they had worked on a script called Halloween Returns at one point that was being talked about being made, and there are some really great parts of that script, and I recommend, even if you don't want to read it, checking out Lee Drumdums did a video on it, and also Mike and Jay from We Watched a Movie. Theirs was a little bit more in-depth than Lee's, but still worth at least watching if you don't want to read the whole script, because they go over the high points and some of the little intricacies of it. This movie, for me, is a 4 out of 5. There are a couple of issues pacing-wise. The gore in certain scenes can get uncomfortable. Of course, there is a little bit ridiculous to the character in general, but definitely don't just think of this as a Saw knockoff, because I find the collector way, way more interesting than Jigsaw. And he doesn't talk. He's silent. He might grunt a little bit. I can't recommend this highly enough. Give it a try. Give it a watch. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And then followed up by watching The Collection. The Collection currently is not on streaming. The collector is. So just know that you're probably going to have to go out and buy The Collection or rent it. I just want to thank you guys for giving me the time of day, watching this. Share, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you very much. I appreciate you watching and listening to me rant about a movie. Thank you. Good night.